Two national women's organizations are demanding Canada's banks do more to prevent what is known as abusive e-transfers. Those are transfers of small amounts of money, but with abusive messages attached. Months ago, you may remember CBC News reported on abusive e-transfers to a woman from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, that came from her ex hours before he killed her. And now Women's Shelters Canada and the Canadian Centre for Women's Empowerment have published an open letter challenging Canada's banks to do more. It's Katie Nicholson who brought us that original report, and she's continued to follow this story. We were talking about updates to all of this just a matter of days ago, in fact, and back with a new one. So welcome back, Katie. Again, tell us about what's in this open letter.
Well, this letter went out last night to all CEOs of Canada's major banks, as well as the Canadian Bankers Association and Interac. And it really draws on a lot of our previous reporting, so Angie Sweeney's story, but also other people who came forward, other Canadians who talked about being victimized in this way by nasty messages attached to e-transfers. And what they're asking for is immediate action. They want Canadian banks to adopt either the methodology used by Australian banks. Commonwealth Bank introduced an AI software that essentially weeds out or blocks these messages, and they made that free to any bank worldwide, or to adopt the program brought in last year by a bank in the UK, which I haven't told you about before, Starling Bank. And this actually allows you to in-app block e-transfer messages from a particular sender or client. We just have a little video that we can show you from that bank when they launched it.
We are the first UK bank to introduce this hidden references feature. Here's how you set it up. Swipe up from the app home screen to pull up the transaction feed. Tap on the payment you've received with an unwanted reference. Tap the hide icon, which will hide references from past or future payments made from that account.
So you can see that's like a pretty simple in-app feature that they've customized for their bank clients for this problem. We also talked to Rhiannon Wong with Women's Shelters Canada, of course, one of the co-authors of this letter. She says what really prompted this letter is that they feel they are frustrated with what they see as inaction on the bank's part, because this has been an issue in Canada for some time. Here's Rhiannon Wong.
I think the silence is very telling. It's either the banks have decided that if they are quiet about the issue, that the issue will just go away, which I'm guessing probably isn't, and that is probably increasing, or they've decided that is perfectly acceptable for criminal acts of harassment and violence and threats towards women can happen on their platforms.
And so, of course, as you know, we've been reporting on this for months now, and we still have not gotten a response from any of Canada's major banks about what they plan to do, a concrete plan about this issue.
Beyond what we've heard so far this morning, what else do the groups want the Canadian banking industry to do now?
Well, this also falls on the day that the Canadian Centre for Women's Empowerment is releasing a study coming out of a financial summit they had in the fall with financial leaders in the country about the different forms of economic and financial abuse and how the banking system is used to victimize survivors of intimate partner violence and perpetuate other abuses. One example that one of the study authors told me about was, the idea that an abusive partner might open a credit card and run that up without their partner knowing about it to sort of damage their ability to get credit, that sort of thing. And it's also a form of punishment, right? So what they've done is they've come together with 12 concrete recommendations for the banks. Some are short-term, some are long-term goals that they want to see Canadian banks to implement to better support and help survivors of intimate partner violence basically get back on their feet. And it's modeled largely on some of the work that's done by UK and Australian banks. Michaela Meyer is one of the authors of this study today, and she basically says it's not just on policymakers and government to tackle this societal issue. It actually does fall on the private industry, particularly banks. Here's Michaela Meyer.
I think it is important for banks to understand that their products, their financial products and services are not only in a few cases, but systematically being exploited by abusive partners to control and abuse victims. And I think they need to do more and to do better to safeguard and protect their vulnerable clients, in this case, survivors.
Now, there is some movement. We know that Scotiabank is working on a program to help intimate partner survivors who may not have all their ID essentially be able to open accounts by using different forms of identification verification. So if you've had to, say, flee without any of your regular ID materials. So there is some movement, but certainly not where these organizations want to see the banking industry to tackle this issue.
Katie, thank you for this latest update. I know you'll continue to report on this and continue to bring us information on the story through the day here on CBC News Network. Thank you, Katie Nicholson.